All right, so Justine, Cody, the salesperson, wanted to get salespeople out of the game. What do you make of that?
I honestly don't know what to make of it. I don't know if it's him projecting or if it was something deeper than just me being in sales, but he obviously made his decision about me just like that based off of my title. So, I mean, I honestly don't know what to make of it, Dalton. I don't know if it's really because I was in sales or if that's maybe the image that he wanted himself to be, was this like threatening salesperson. I guess we'll see.
What was it? Why are you here talking to me now? Why were you targeted?
With the rest of America, obviously, I was initially targeted for being in sales. It gave me some solace for Jesse to admit last night. He was like, Justine is scary. Like, she's a threat to my game. And it was because I was the only person who, and you don't really see this in the edit, but Jesse was actively playing both sides. So what they show on screen is that he's kind of more so in the alliance with Cody and NECA, but what they didn't show is Jesse was also coming to me and coming to Noelle and saying, okay, Cody and NECA are saying this, like, what should I go back to them with? And really like strategizing with us to a point where I thought I was safe. And so they kind of left that out of the edit, which is a bummer because I think people are probably confused about like, why is Justine even thinking that she can trust Jesse at this point? I wanted to trust Jesse. I knew in the back of my mind that I couldn't. And you can kind of see that internal battle with me in my confessional last night. In the end, I decided to not be paranoid about it. And I decided, you know what, just trust Jesse. Noelle is trusting Jesse. Dwight says we're good with Jesse. Just trust. And that obviously worked against me.
Yeah, sometimes performance and challenges can put someone on the spot. We saw NECA having some trouble in that challenge, clearly. How do you feel you performed in the challenges? I couldn't really tell how you were doing out there generally.
I know, that's another thing. I was like, me and Cody were the first two people to like dive into the water and swim to that wall. I wish they showed more of that. But I mean, the challenges were so much fun. Honestly, going into them, I was definitely feeling the starvation and the sleep deprivation. And I thought like, wow, I might pass out on national television during this. But then once the challenges start, the adrenaline is just rushing through your body. And so for me, like, you don't even think about being hungry. You don't think about anything else. You're just like in it. But I thought I did pretty well in the challenges. My biggest regret with them is probably not volunteering to do the puzzle on last night's challenge because I underestimate myself a lot. And I think Ellie had a confessional about this last night too, where she was like, holy shit, I did that puzzle. Like that came from my brain. And I went into Survivor thinking like, just don't sign up for the puzzles. But when it comes down to it, I could have done that puzzle. And I know that I am a lot better than I give myself credit for when it comes to stuff like that.
No one wants to go first, right? It's not fun.
No one wants to go first.
So how you go all the way out there, everyone that goes out there, they're already thinking about the $1 million, right? Like, wow, this is amazing. And then to go out early, I mean, it has to sting. How did that feel after you got your torch snuffed and how did you process that?
Honestly, I blacked out when Jeff read that third vote that said Justine. And so I just remember my body instinctively getting up, grabbing my torch, which was like 40 pounds, by the way. I was like battling to get it out of its holder, walking up to Jeff. And there was a little thought in the back of my head. I was like, maybe they'll take me to the edge. It was similar to Mariah. We both kind of thought, it's like, there's no way this is the end. And then of course, it's the end. But yeah, it's a bummer, something I didn't think about going into the show. Obviously, you don't plan for leaving early, but something I didn't really think about is how the emotions can definitely come in waves and like the mental toll it can take on people. So for the last 4 months, I've had friends reach out to me being like, I hope you win, or like, I hope you're not like, I hope you don't suck out of the gates, haha, just kind of like shooting the shit, but they don't really understand how much of a like mental toll that it takes on us and how much those little innocent comments can actually affect us if you are an early boot.
Yeah, and then it's like you have to live it twice, right? You have to live it out there, then you have to live it again when it airs. So like, were you looking forward to watching it play out last night, or were you kind of dreading watching the episode?
It was a mixture of both. It's funny because the show has psychologists or therapists that you talk to. which is great. And I was talking to one of them leading up to the premiere, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of bummed that I'm only going to be on 2 episodes. And she was like, honestly, a lot of people breathe a sigh of relief after their vote out. I was like, that's actually an interesting way of looking at it. But now that I've lived it out, I completely agree. For a couple days leading up to last night's episode, I couldn't really sleep. I was anxious. It's not fun. And it's also not normal to watch people conspiring against you on TV. So it is a very highly stressful situation. Yes, I have breathed a sigh of relief now that it's done. And honestly, I thought it was a great episode. I thought that there were some really funny bits in it. So I'm walking away just happy that I did it.
Yeah, at least for you, Early Boots, at least these have been supersized episodes. So at least we got a little more footage of each of you as well. You know, you talked about Jesse and how he was playing both sides. Were you surprised then? You know, we had that sort of clip of him in last night's episode where he was sort of, rolling his eyes at you, sort of going around and everything. What was your relationship with him like out there, and did that surprise you to see that?
It hurts a little bit. It stings a little bit, or I guess it stung a little bit to see Jesse say that the person he least jived with on our tribe was me. Noelle and Dwight were completely in my circle of trust. We all trusted each other, and that started pretty early, and we knew that we needed numbers. And so Cody and Nneka never really spoke to me, honestly. I was the only person Cody never spoke game with. I could tell that I was a target for them, and I said that in my confessionals. And so Jesse, he was a really endearing and sweet person out there. And I was like, you know what? I actually like this guy. I can see myself building trust for him. I'm just not completely there yet. And so, yeah, it stung a little bit that he didn't feel the same way with me, but I like Jesse out there.
On the flip side, you and Noelle immediately seemed to hit it off. How did you two bond so quickly?
It was summed up pretty well in the first episode where Noelle was talking about how, we're similar in age. I said a lot in my confessionals that you don't see, but we just got along really well. And she seemed like someone that would be on one of my sporting teams growing up. And those were the bulk of my friends growing up in middle school and high school were the girls that I played sports with. And so we just hit it off immediately. We were both really competitive. Her vulnerability made it easy to connect with her.
Do you think it hurt you a bit that you were so close? Do you think that do you think people perceived you as this block and we got to break them up, and that's kind of why you got the boot?
Yes, but I think that different seasons have shown that, sometimes it does help to make those quick and strong alliances and relationships. And in some seasons, it doesn't work out to be the middleman. So it just happens that on my tribe's dynamic, it ended up hurting me.
Let's talk about the infamous bead. Any suspicion at all when Cody asked for your bead that something might be up? What's going through your head, Justine?
I had no suspicions at all. And honestly, I kind of look like a dumbass up there because I'm like, oh yeah, Cody, take my bead. Sure, here it is. And even at Tribal, I'm like, ha ha ha, he made this funny hat. I want one. But you know what? I was always nice to Cody, and I'm fine being memorialized in that way. I just thought he was funny and amusing, and so I was all for giving him my beads so that he could make his little hat. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but I had no suspicion whatsoever.
Yeah, you're playing the social game. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
It made total sense, and in no way you could have known. Let's say he doesn't get all the beads, right? And he doesn't get his vote back. What do you think happens?
If he hadn't gotten all of his beads, that means that there are 4 votes. Me and Noelle would have voted for Nneka. Jesse and Nneka still would have voted for me. We would have had to re-vote, where we can only vote for me and Nneka, and we could have gone to Rocks. And I will also say, there's confusion about why we split our votes between Cody and Nneka. And it's because you don't see all these scenes where Jesse is also very much strategizing with us, building trust with us, making us feel like, okay, Jesse's on our side. And so that was the reason behind splitting votes, because we thought Nneka absolutely knew that she was going home tonight, to a point where she might play her shot in the dark. And in that case, we didn't want to have to, fall back on me going home. We wanted that to be Cody if we had to re-vote.
I guess you guys wouldn't have known that he didn't have his vote, right? Though, so actually, if
We
you guys
wouldn't
were
have
still
known,
splitting,
yeah.
so I guess it's still the result would have been the same, I guess.
Yeah, we still wouldn't have known. And if I had known, one more comment on like tribal, if I had known that I was really being targeted and that Jesse was swaying more in the direction of voting against me, I absolutely would have played my shot in the dark. But I was so confident that Jesse was with us, which is why I didn't.
All right, what's up with you and spiders? Is this a spider-specific fear, or is this just creepy crawlies in general? Like, what's up?
Hey, who likes spiders? Like, that's a better question. People are like, oh my God, Justine is on the wrong show. And it's like, no one goes on Survivor for the spiders. And also, everyone else on my tribe was equally like, oh, spider. Of course, they only show a montage of me doing that.
You know, even with the supersized episodes, Justine, there's only so much they can fit in. And you've talked already about a few things. You're like, oh, I wish they'd made this to air. I wish they'd shown this. Is there anything else that, like, when you were out there, you're like, I can't wait to see this on TV, or you're just expecting to see, and then you didn't, that you wish had made it to air?
So when I got voted off, this is kind of like a long-winded answer, but when I got voted off, I wrote down a list of things that I should still be proud of, because obviously I was bummed about leaving early, but I had to constantly remind myself, you know, your goal was to be on Survivor and you did that. And one of the things on my bucket list was to make fire. And I'm just glad that they showed that. Obviously, I need to stop going through the Reddit threads and the Twitter stuff, but people are like, ooh, Justine, you showed your cards too early. But it's like, you don't see Sammy and Gabler getting that same reaction from people being like, ooh, you guys made fire, you showed your cards too early. And I won't get into this too deep, but there definitely is a gender bias on Survivor. And I think everyone knows that. If a woman comes out of the gates too strong and is doing things like making fire or good at challenges or making herself useful around camp, then it's like, ooh, tisk tisk, you're showing your hand too early. But if men do it, then it's like, oh, good, okay, they're useful around camp. We need to keep them for strength. They'll probably make merge. And so I'm glad that they showed the fire, but obviously it was received differently than other people on other tribes making fire, which is a bummer.
100% right about that that gender bias. Justine, I enjoyed watching you this season. I wish I could have seen you a little more, but that's the way it goes. Everyone can't
Thanks,
stick around.
Dalton.
But thanks a lot for hanging out and chatting today.
Of course, good to meet you.